Hey guys, what's up? It's me once again. It's your boy doing another wrestling video. Um, if you're new to this channel, my name is Kyle9965. I think I might end up changing the name to this. Anyway, I do wrestling videos on all things professional wrestling, WWE, NXT, Impact Wrestling, now AEW as well, New Japan Pro Wrestling, ROH. It's wrestling. It's what I do. I like it. Um, so I just uploaded the video, or had time to upload a video from this morning announcing AEW's debut on TNT. This video here I'm going to be talking about is going to be on Roman Reigns. This is something that a lot of people I haven't seen really talk about, at least within the wrestling community on YouTube. I haven't seen them talk about it as much. And it's kind of been glossed over even on the internet as well. But I think this topic is something that it it's kind of worth talking about and kind of thinking about, because Roman Reigns, whether you like the guy or not, he is one of the WWE's big stars on the current roster. Um, so in regards to that, is that Roman Reigns quite possibly not being with the WWE within the next, like, say, 2 years. Um, and this comes from a report that Roman Reigns did. Let's see if I can find the. I don't think it was Vanity, but Roman Reigns had an interview with like a Hollywood reporter, report media, social media, whatever. And in there, Roman Reigns said that he could possibly see himself being in WWE for no more than like maybe 2 years or less. And I quote, uh, Roman Reigns said, Sunday Times is where he had this interview. It's from the Sunday Times, an interview that Roman Reigns had. And I quote, he mentions here that he could see himself outside of the wrestling business in 2 years or less. Roman Reigns went on to mention he's done everything there is to accomplish in the company, being WWE, and that there's not much left to achieve. He continued to say that he really enjoyed his role in the Hobbs and Shaw movie, which is a spinoff with the Fast and Furious spinoff movie, which stars The Rock. And he says he loved working with his cousin, The Rock, in that movie. Roman Reigns also said that The Rock has planned a movie for both himself and Roman Reigns to star in a major action blockbuster movie. However, it's only available to Roman Reigns if he steps away from the ring due to the amount of time required to film. I think this is kind of vital. I kind of think this is important to talk about. Like I said, whether you like Roman Reigns or not, he is one of their big stars in the current roster. Um, just because they have invested a lot in Roman Reigns over the last 5 years. And for Roman Reigns to say, like, hey, I'm pretty much gonna, I have potential in acting here. Quite possibly, we don't know what his acting chops is like. The Hobbs and Shaw movie comes out like next week, so I don't know what his acting chops are like. But the fact that he could potentially go down that path, and what he says 2 years or less, um, kind of makes you wonder what WWE, if they're reading this interview and they saw the, which I'm pretty sure they probably have, what are the powers that be are, what are they thinking? Roman Reigns is, he's 34 years old right now. Currently, he's 34. In the next 2 years, and what he says about it, should he leave WWE in 2 years, he'd be about 36, which is still a young age, I would say. Because John Cena's like 41, and John Cena, I'd say, probably just recently started his acting career, or his acting career, I'd say, recently just started to kick off, maybe in the last 2 years. So he might be a little bit younger than when John Cena kind of like started and his career kind of kicked off, or maybe around the same age. If I'm not mistaken. But Roman Reigns still be a young guy. Should he walk away from the business at 35 or 36? you kind of have to wonder, where does WWE think? Because for all intents and purposes, I go back and say again, whether you like Roman Reigns or not, he is the face of WWE. He is their poster child. Um, I will even make another video about this to kind of argue with that as well. To counter argue my point on that is that it's the face of the company, kind of like Brock Lesnar. Some could even argue and say that with WWE, there is no definitive face of the WWE, just because, you know, when Rock was that guy, when Austin kind of left, Rock left for Hollywood. And then they kind of tried to put that basket into Brock Lesnar. But then Brock Lesnar left like 3 years later. The only consistent, strong poster child they had was John Cena. John Cena had been holding it down for 15 years. And regardless of, John Cena, I guess you could say WWE keeping John Cena at that high profile for so many years, holding it down, not really giving anyone else a chance. Um, you could say that it's really hard for someone to be in that position. But at the same token, one could also probably say too that WWE nowadays, they're probably not looking for a definitive guy to lead the company, which would be kind of weird coming from WWE. If you go back for years, WWE has always had that one definitive guy that was like the face of the company. Like, yes, you've had other top stars, but you've always had that one guy that was the poster child, whether it was Bruno Sammartino to Hulk Hogan to Bret Hart for a time being, and a little bit of Shawn Michaels to Stone Cold Steve Austin. And then when Stone Cold was gone for like a year, that guy was The Rock. And then from The Rock to Brock Lesnar was that guy for a short while. Then John Cena for 15 years. And now, Roman Reigns. You could argue and say that Roman Reigns is a failed experiment. A lot of people say he's a failed experiment. Over the last 5 years, the whole force push, the crowd being kind of uh, uh, mixed on him to just turning on him completely. The Roman Reigns experiment, you could say, is a bit of a mixed bag. Part of it's on Roman Reigns' part. A lot of it's on really WWE and how they booked the guy. Really didn't do him any favors in grooming him for that position, for that spot. But despite all of that, he seems to be kind of okay right now. I think part of that's due to him coming back from cancer and then being in remission. A lot of people, the fans, are kind of taking it easy on Roman Reigns. And you've also noticed too, WWE really hasn't pushed Roman Reigns all that much. And that's recently been speculated just because WWE kind of want to take it easy with Roman Reigns. That even though he's in remission and he's quote unquote better, they don't want to go full force 110% with him just because they don't want him to break down again, or his body to break down, because he's still kind of somewhat recuperating, which would explain a lot why. Because if you notice in the last since he's come back in ring, he really hasn't been on TV that much. If you really look at it, they kind of sprinkle him around a little bit on a Raw or on SmackDown, since he got the Super Wild Card thing. He's not in any major feuds. I mean, he's in a feud with Shane McMahon, but it's something. But it's not like, I would say, the top feud right now in the company. He's not fighting for any major championships. So Roman Reigns has been kind of they haven't been force feeding them to the fans, I would say, over the last couple of months since his comeback from the remission of cancer, or his cancer going into remission. So they've been kind of taking it easy with him. But I think this is something this piece of news is just interesting to me, because it kind of makes you wonder. WWE saw this interview from Sun Times, and you kind of have to wonder, are they looking and saying, okay, well, Roman himself is saying that he's not going to be with us for the next, 2 years. He could see himself being out. Who do we have as that guy that we can build to take that spot? As much as I love Seth Rollins, it ain't him. And right now, I don't even think fans would want it to be him because Rollins has not been doing himself any favors, opening his mouth and giving his opinions via the internet. Um, you could say, the face of WWE, and not even just really now, but for the last several years, really, it's kind of Brock Lesnar. Despite him being a part timer, Brock Lesnar is a draw. Brock Lesnar is that guy that they always they always end up relying on for a safety net for whatever reason. Um, that's actually a fair argument, but we don't know how long is Brock Lesnar going to be in WWE. Um, so it's like, who do they have on that roster? I don't know, but I think whoever it is, WWE kind of needs to start looking. Um, you know who they can build that company around, because right now they might not be. Roman Reigns will be a main focus, but I don't think he's going to be the focus like he has been over the last 5 years. And like I said, if he wraps it up in 2 years, I mean, can't really blame the guy. He's made his money. I'm sure he's a saver. I'm sure he saved his money. And hey, look, if you can get out of the wrestling business at a pretty good age without being physically beaten, banged up, I say go for it. Rock was one of the very few that was rare to do it. Rock left wrestling at 30. He was at the prime of his age, prime of his career still, and he accomplished a lot in the 7 years that he was on top. So it's kind of similar to a Roman Reigns, and like I said, like the guy or not, WWE has given him a lot. Royal Rumble winner. He's headlined 4 straight WrestleManias, which I think is the second most consecutive WrestleManias uh, a top guy has uh, uh, been main eventing since Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, I think, has main evented 5 straight WrestleManias in a row. Roman Reigns is like 4. John Cena hasn't even main evented that many consecutive WrestleManias in a row. I think John Cena did like 3 when he got his first big break as the top guy. He main evented like his first 3 WrestleManias, but then after that, I think like 1 he wasn't. So it all varied. But yeah, main event in WrestleMania, they've given this guy the world. He's been a multi-time world champion, 4-time world champion. Even though his run as world champion has been kind of Roman Reigns, you look back at his championship run, he really has not had a good champion title run as champion. He really hasn't. He really has been given a fair shake in a lot of his championship run, whether it's due to his cancer recently or him getting violating one of WWE's health policies. So, violating one of the health policies. So it's the guy hasn't had really good luck in having memorable championship runs, but it's in his resume. Multi-world champion. Like I said, he hasn't won Money in the Bank. That's probably the only thing he hasn't done, which he probably will do before he retires or leaves WWE. Um, they've given him big names to beat: Undertaker, John Cena, Brock Lesnar. Um, which to me, in my opinion, those are like really the Randy Orton. Those are like the last 4 big names to me that has tremendous star power over everyone on the roster. John Cena, Randy Orton, uh, John Cena, Randy Orton, Undertaker, and Brock Lesnar, and Triple H too. Forget that's another one. Triple H, he's beaten Triple H, so he's beaten some of the top guys from past and present. He's beaten. So I just think it's really interesting. You guys, let me know what you think. If Roman Reigns is to leave WWE in the next, when what he says 2 years or less to start an acting career with The Rock. What do you guys think about it? And a lot of people probably wouldn't care because a lot of people don't like Roman Reigns anyway. I'm fine with the guy. I don't hate him. Um, but I do think it's interesting from a perspective of who does WWE focus and build on as that next guy. You could even argue and say that WWE probably doesn't even want to build, a top guy. They may build, top stars, but they don't want to build a singular top star, face of the company type of like thing. So You guys let me know what you think about this in the box below. I really want to hear your opinions. Do yourself a favor, hit that like button, and subscribe. Peace out.